everybody. But like for some of those people, it's like they didn't have that explained to them. Mm-hmm. No one was like, "Hey, this is why people don't think that's cool." Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like, someone. I'm trying to think of an example that's not extreme of like something awful someone would say, like fucking calling like more masculine presenting lesbians like butch or something. Like some people don't like that.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Some people just fully like take it and that's like, yeah, that's who I am. But like some people don't like that, and that's something that someone's like, I'm not trying to be offensive by saying that. Why everyone's so offended? It's like, well, they're not offended. It's just like some people don't want to be represented that way. Like,
Right, don't categorize me in that, yeah.
Yeah, like Mads is what the average person would say, like masculine presenting, but like Mads is a woman.
Right.
Like Mads is 100%. A queen. Like she is also the more feminine one in their relationship.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. That is 100% actually true.
But like people... That's one of those things that, like, they would say something and someone would lash out at them, and they just go through their life, like, they still think they're right because they weren't trying to offend anybody. Like, they had, good intentions, but no one educated them. Right. So, like, whenever people say those things, like, you can just, like, hey, man, like, what the fuck? Like, what's up? Let's talk about this for, like, 5 minutes. Or even if you don't want to do it in the moment, like, you want to process it and then talk to them later when other people aren't around and be like, hey, I don't appreciate that you said that.
Right.
Like... Because, sometimes someone says something and you're like, man, that really fucking bothered me. And you get heated about it and you just need to, like, process that. And then you'll be able to talk to them about it calmly later, which is totally fine. Which is something that's so hard for people to do. It's not easy for me to do all the time. Like, fucking... People have definitely said or done things, and I'm, like, livid. I'm like, I don't even know why. I'm just like, I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to them. I'm going to avoid them at all costs because I will make them cry.
Oh, yeah. I'm a sensitive-ass person. I get offended very easily, so I try not to, like... if I take it in, I don't take it... I do take it personally, but I just take it in, I think about it, and I'm like, okay... Like, did they really mean it like that? Or were you just kind of, like, in the wrong space at the wrong time and they said it? Sometimes, yeah, person was being a dick. But sometimes I'm just, like, kind of being sensitive. And I'm like, okay, I just got to, like, really think about it. Yeah. And that's also why because I joke around all the fucking time. You know this.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm never serious. So sometimes I'll say shit and someone will kind of look at me weird and I'm like... And it will literally bother me, like, fuck, were they mad? Did I offend them?
Yeah. If I'm awkward, I'll just fucking spew talking.
Right.
Especially if someone else isn't talking, I'm just going to fill that empty space with, like, words.
Right.
And I'm going to say something stupid.
Right.
Every fucking time.
And I always feel, well, the thing is, I always feel bad, like, fuck, because I'm sensitive, I'm like, fuck, did they, like, really mean anything by it? And I usually never, ever mention it. But, like, there's been a couple times where I've said something to somebody, and I, like, later, I'm like, hey, man... Like, I said something to Danny one time, and, like, it was, like, one of those, I got 40 minutes of sleep, and the way I said it, I was like, dude, I totally did not mean it that way. Like, I was, like, just kind of, like, fucking with you, and, like, I didn't mean it the way I said it. And he was like, oh, you're cool, dude. I wasn't mad at all. And I was like, I just feel like I sounded like a dick, And,
like, people respect whatever you, like, say that, though, even. Like, even if, like, they weren't offended, they didn't think you meant anything by it. Like, if you go and have that conversation, like, hey, man, like, I'm sorry. They're like, I didn't even, like, whatever. Like, they respect that you cared enough about their feelings to, like, bring up this thing. And, like, I feel like it means more to those people because, like, whatever you said meant nothing to them. They ignored it. But, like, the fact that you cared enough about something that didn't even bother them, like, makes them feel good and, like, acknowledged. Like, you know, oh, like, thank you for, like, acknowledging my potential feelings.
Yeah.
Like,
The biggest catchphrase that people always like to say, or I don't even know if you would call it a catchphrase, it's just a saying is like, oh, I hate people. But, like, people suck 110%.
People are awful.
Yeah, but, like, I still really love people. Like, even people
that's why we're in the industry we are. Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what gravitated towards. I mean, like, for me, it did, because I was like, dude, no matter, even if I hate somebody and I don't care to be around them, I still, like, love that person. Like, and it's just, like, kind of my weakness.
Until it hits an extreme. Same.
Until it hits an extreme.
It hits an extreme and I want them to eat dirt and die.
Well, and see, that's like, dude, I hate my stepdad, but I still love him. Like, or he's not my stepdad anymore. But the shit he did to me and my mom, it's like, and I mention this a lot, but it's just like, it defines who I am and how I feel about things, and it's like a big example of like, I really don't ever want to see you again. I don't want to be around you.
But I wish the best.
But I do love you. Like, I really do. And I care for you because I know what happened to you as a kid, and that's what made you the way you are today. Yeah. So it's like, there's a part where it's like, okay, you got to go past that bullshit, but then there's a part that's like, it's never going to go away. So it makes you who you are.
Like, people, if you, like, look more at, like, why people are the way they are, It like makes you understand and accept them so much more. Like that's part of why our generation is becoming so much better to like our following generation. Like
I agree.
people are like nurturing their kids instead of just being fucking negative because like they're like, oh, like my parents did this awful thing to me. Like they fucking traumatized me. Not on purpose. Right. They weren't like, my parents don't fucking hate me. Like my father and mother are just awful people, but like they had these awful experiences growing up that made them who they are. And they accidentally, like, traumatized me.
Right.
You know, I tried to have the conversation with my father at one point, and he got livid, very defensive instantly. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, like, you know, I have a lot of trauma from growing up. And he's like, oh, I didn't fucking, like, abuse you or anything like that. I didn't say you did. You could have gave me $100 every day for the rest of my life, and that still could have somehow caused trauma to me.
Right,
like,
right.
I still could have processed that funny. Like, it is not necessarily on you. I mean, sometimes it just directly is. Mm-hmm. But, like, it's not necessarily on someone for, like, how I process something and, like, it fucks me up. Like, and I wasn't even attacking him at any point either. I wasn't like, hey, like, you know, you really fucked me up. I was just like, we were just casually talking about, like, how things have gone through in life. And I'm very detached from, like, my emotional problems and mental problems. So, like, I can just talk about them very openly.
Right.
So I was just having, like, a genuine, just normal conversation. And he got super offended. And I'm like, there's no reason, like, I wasn't saying you're a bad person for making me feel this way. And, like, people need to realize whenever they're looking at, like, their parents, like, you know, oh, you know, my dad used to yell at me for playing with Barbies or whatever. Like,
right.
It's not because he's a bad person. It's because, like, he was raised in a way that that's not okay.
That's not
or whatever.
okay.
So, like,
the way he
it's just, it is our job as our generation to discontinue that.
100%. I think you'll fuck your kids up no matter what, and no matter how good you are of a parent. I think there'll always be something that will fuck your kids up. There's just a different level, and like you said, like our generation, I agree, will be and is better at it because it's just more of like, I think everybody's just more connected with your emotions and how you feel and how you can deal with stuff and how to actually discipline a kid and not just like whoop the kid's ass. 'Cause that was me. It was like I get my ass whooped, which, I mean, hey, I turned out fine, but like I don't think
I turned out really funny.
Yeah, I turned out hilarious. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong. I think there's yin and yang. Like, and that's another reason why I appreciate people, because even when someone's a total fucking like that situation I told you about the karaoke, like this is why I still love people is because even though that's a god awful person, there still has to be people like that in the world. I just feel like that. There's a yin and
they're filling a role.
Well, they are. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like. I feel like there has to be balance somewhere. Yeah. And there has to be good and bad, and there's no way that everybody can be good. So even if there's a fucking horrible person, it's like, well, you gotta have those people here, you know?
You gotta have awful. If you don't have awful people, then good people won't mean anything.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, if it sunshines every day, or wait, I don't know how would I explain that. Whatever, you know what I mean. You know what
There's all kinds of like different directions to put like one of my favorite ones that I tell people, you know, they're having like a really fucking down day. I'm like, hey, if today is the worst day of your life, tomorrow has to be better.
Yeah.
But like if you ever never have a bad day, you'll never appreciate the good days kind of things. Like,
yeah,
that's
exactly. If it rains, doesn't shine, I don't fucking know. If it never rains, you can't appreciate the sun. Same fucking thing.
It's all the same thing. There's a million metaphors for every bullshit little thing.
Yeah, a million metaphors. Just keep writing them down.
You know, people thought they were clever back in the day, and they're not. I've been on Tumblr.
Yeah, I've been on Tumblr. Yeah, I've seen all poetry. I almost bought a book on poetry, then I was like, I don't know if I started to read it, and I was like, I can't understand this, and I just...
there's a YouTube page that's called Button Poetry. They like do a bunch of books and like a bunch of poets send them stuff to put in, and like reading it is less entertaining than watching the videos of people like performing it live.
Yeah,
because like there's so much emotion put into it.
Yeah,
and like every time you're watching it, like by the end of the 5-minute video you're about to cry.
Yeah,
and you're like, that was so fucking good.
Sometimes I also want someone to explain it to me, which I guess kind of ruins the poem, but like I kind of want to be explained.
I mean, in a sense, it could ruin the poem, but it could also, like, enlighten the meaning. Because now you understand what it is, and, like, you have potentially become a better person. Because, like, you know, if someone's talking about their awful experiences they've gone through, like, you now know what they were talking about, so you can not put someone else through that or whatever.
Yeah, you can understand it better.
I was watching a bunch last night that were, like, getting super deep and sad, and I was like, I'm not trying to be in this mood right now.
That's why I don't
I was like, these are really good, but I'm not trying to be sad.
I don't play... Like, if I'm in a bad mood, now that I'm in a good space in my mind, it doesn't matter as much. But there was a point in my life where I could not be in a dark room, and I could not listen to sad music, because I was so sad all the time, and I was like, this is just inflicting it way worse. So I just gotta listen to happy tunes all the time, watch comedies, only do that, and then I'll be okay.
I have the weird, like, because I, like, am traumatized or whatever, like, I have, dissociative disorder where, like, basically I'm on autopilot. Like, I don't feel actual emotions. Like, I have a lot of emotion, I don't have feelings. Like, so, you see me, it's like, oh, Princess is in a good mood, having a great day. I'm like, I'm actually just very, like, dry. Like, nothing is there, but I, like, have to emulate these things just to be, like, a proper person. So, to, like, help me process and feel emotions, I have to sometimes, like, watch the sad things or listen to the sad music because it, like, helps me feel what I need to be feeling, which is, it's really, really weird to explain, especially people that don't have, like, dissociative disorder and, like, really bad depression and everything. Like, I can't cry. I very rarely can cry. I can cry a little bit in, like, a weird way whenever I was saying bye to Mads. But, like, anytime I'm watching, like, a super sad movie or something, or, like, fucking... Like, if I was watching Marley and Me, saddest movie anyone's ever fucking seen in their life, it gets, like, the sad parts, and, like, I'll start to, like, cry. I feel myself start, and then my brain, like, tells me, hey, you're not supposed to do that, and I start laughing.
Yeah.
I
do a similar thing. Probably not as drastic as yours, but I still, it's very hard for me to cry for some fucking weird reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it's like the man thing that like I was taught, like be a man, be a man. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I was a kid, right? Gotta be a man. Okay, maybe that's just ingrained in my head or something. I don't know.
My thing when I was a kid was like more of like a teenager or whatever, like growing up, I started getting really depressed. Like, depression runs in my family. It was really fucking bad. So I'm like not understanding what's wrong with me because I didn't go to therapy or anything. Therapy was not a thing for our past generation, really, unless like you were super fucked up. So that wasn't a consideration ever. So like I'm super sad over genuinely nothing sometimes. Like that's just the chemicals in my brain telling me like, hey, life sucks, you should kill yourself. And like anytime something would upset me, my solution to it was just don't think about it, distract yourself. So like that was my solution for years to everything that got wrong with me. It was like, oh, you're really sad because this girl doesn't like you. Just don't think about it. You're really sad because, things aren't going right, like you and your friend are fighting. Oh, just don't think about it. So like anytime that I start to get super upset, my brain tries to just like rewire and shut down and distract itself. That's why whenever I start like going to cry or anything, I just start laughing. Like I just instantly am not thinking about the thing. And it's like I've trained myself in this way as like a self-defense thing. But now that like I've grown a lot and I'm trying to process things properly, it's really, really hard to get yourself out of it. It's like, your self-defense mechanisms are exactly that. They're like your brain trying to keep you alive.
Right.
But it's usually not in a healthy way because, none of us had therapy growing up.
Yeah.
We didn't go and learn how to process emotions.
Do you do therapy now?
I want to. I
would love to.
I never think about... it's one of those things, whenever I'm not doing anything, I never think about, like, oh, I need to go look up therapy. I only think about it when I'm busy. Like, I'm in the middle of fucking work, and I'm like, man, I really need therapy.
I'd be doing the same thing. I'm like, I should probably...
It's not like I'm sitting there watching videos on my phone, like, I should take this time to, like, look up a therapist and make an appointment.
But see, that's also the healthy thing now, is, like, even if, like, our generation is more like, okay, maybe everyone, not saying everyone, but, like, everyone can go to therapy or everyone can use it. It's helpful. It's not just like if you're totally messed up. It's like
it should be required.
Yeah, it should be a requirement for you to talk and get your feelings out and like, or just like be able to understand yourself better. It's just healthy.
There's nothing wrong with there's a negative stigma attached to therapy because of the generations before us.
I asked for it when I was a kid one time. My mom's like, "What? You're fine," and I'm like, "But like." My feelings. And she's like,
you're what?
And, yeah,
what are those?
What? Well, the thing is, my mom is a sweetheart. She's not like a mean person. She's not like, well, mom, sometimes I get messed up thoughts. She's like, that's just the movies you watch. And she just walked off, and I was like, yeah, maybe she's right. Okay. just watch too many movies.
I had the super like fun, not actually fun. There was at one point I'm like just super fucked up, like I'm fucking up in school, like I'm just in a really bad mood. Like it was whenever my depression was like in its deepest, and I'm like fucking crying in the middle of the kitchen, like talking. My father's yelling at me, like upset about something, and I'm just like not processing life. And he's like, "Do I need to send you to fucking therapy?" Like as a threat. And I'm just like, oh no, like, and then like fucking 2 months later, I'm like, I really need to go to therapy. That sounds like a great idea. So I ask him, I'm like, hey, I want to do this, and then suddenly it's not a fucking option. I'm like, so it's a threat, and it's cool, but whenever I actually am like, no, I need this. This is a good thing.
Like, no, if you like it, we're not doing it.
Yeah, I've like I've talked to, well, less him because he doesn't want to talk, but I've talked to like my stepmother about like the whole thing since then. Her and I did not get along growing up.
Yeah, you can tell me about that.
Like we were not friends because she had a lot of like emotional issues and I had emotional issues. We didn't understand them, so we were just like domino affecting on top of each other, just like negative energy just building. Yeah, so we did not get along at all. And now that like we've gotten older, like we've both matured a lot, we've, you know, understand things better, we have talked about it, like her and I are really close. But like she feels really bad because she was like, you know, if I wish I would have known earlier whenever you were younger that like you were having these issues, so like we could have gotten you help and everything. I'm like, it's not like your fault. Like sure, things could have gone better, but like you can't just regret and beat yourself up over what we did or didn't do 10 years ago. Like nothing is going to get better regretting the past. You just have to learn from it and move forward. Like fucking if, you know, the kids or grandkids are ever like going through it, you have to be able to recognize that and like get them the help. Right. Like, you know, learn from the examples of everyone around you.
So I try not to hold on to anything, because if I hold on to like, oh, they were a dick to me, or like someone really like, you know, I mean, obviously there's certain people you definitely need to cut off, but that's it. Like you just don't need to dwell on it.
Yeah, it's just like, bye.
Yeah, it's like, and then if you really love the person, maybe they pissed you off, like,
maybe talk about it later and figure it out.
Yeah, and like even if you got past it and it still bothers you, it's just like I just try to move on. Like I try to figure it out, it's solved, move on. Because if I hold on to it, it's just like, well, it's just gonna ruin everything.
Regret is like not worth anyone's time. Like
so much energy. It's also so much energy like to be negative, to like be more negative about it. I feel like when I meet someone who's super negative, I'm like, I feel like I don't have the energy to do that. I just don't. You know?
Yeah. Well, like, let's say, you know, the love of your life or whatever, like, you fucked it up, y'all broke up, like, yeah, sure, like, you fucked up. You just can't regret that forever. Like, yeah, you love that person, you miss them, you'll always love and miss them, but, like, you can't dwell on that and be like, man, if I never would have fucking did what I did or whatever, you know, if I would have done better, like, you can't dwell, you can't look at it as, if I would have, you have to look at, I will next time.
Right.
Kind of thing, like.
I have a friend who's done, he's, like, 2 years broken up with this chick, and he still is like, I'm like, dude, like, I get it. I really do. It sucks. But, like, this is just going to... It's not healthy to keep holding on to.
It's not going to get better. Like, you're not going to suddenly...
Making it...
It's not going to go back in time suddenly and fix itself. Like, you have to just process and deal with it. Like, learn from it and do better.
Right.
Like, and it's become a meme at this point to do the whole, like, oh, we'll just do better. Mm-hmm. And the meme is funny. But, actually, that's just what it is sometimes. Like, you know... Learn from the fucked up thing you did. Like, you know, you hurt someone's feelings. That person's out of your life now. Like, you can apologize to them. You can only do so much. But, like, just do better next time. And that's what a lot of people need to figure out with a lot of, like... People just have too much regret in their lives. And it, like, fucks up your perspective on a lot of things. And that's not saying, like, oh, you know, just everything you do, just take it and, like... You have to learn. That's the important part of, like, the not regretting things. You can't just, like, ignore it and do it again. You have to, like, okay, I need to not do that.
Yeah, 100%. That's what, I remember my mom.
I think there's an Avatar The Last Airbender episode. That's like, the main.
Dude, I know. Message. Everyone keeps telling me that, like, if you want, like, there's actually a lot of life lessons in that.
It's, like, nothing but life lessons.
Yeah, and I never caught that as a kid. I was just like,
well, it's a bunch of 12-year-olds trying to grow up.
Yeah,
they're getting a bunch of life lessons.
It makes sense. Yeah. Well, I hate to cut it off, but we are past an hour, and this is actually pretty interesting because we talked about food and then we talked about life. And
I like food. I don't like life that much, but here we
are.
But
you know what?
We're here for it.
If someone doesn't want to listen to that part, they don't have to. They got food. So thank you. Do you want to plug up your Twitch or anything?